Albertans! As predicted more than a year ago, vaccine passports are now a reality in Alberta. Liar, liar, pants on fire, Jason Kenney is running around like a chicken with its head cut off. The sky once again is falling in on Alberta, and it is all the fault of those who choose to exercise their right to decide what goes in or on their body, according to Jason Kenney. He has violated practically every precept of informed consent. He freely admits that all of his recent policies have been an attempt to coerce the public into getting vaccinated. The propaganda has been so effective that the medical industry has completely abandoned their commitment to informed consent, to the point that they will pressure, coerce, and intimidate an old man in hospital with a test for the duration of his entire stay. They essentially threatened to keep that man locked up in hospital indefinitely until he would take the test. Stan never took the test. Stan never took the test, just like I and so many of you have refused to wear a mask. Stan made a stand. I have made a stand. You are making a stand right now. And let me tell you this. This vaccine passport is my line in the sand. Now, I certainly cannot pretend to speak for everyone, but people ask how I do what I do. I do it the same way Stan does, the same way Father John does. The strength we draw upon predates humanity. And I quote, "Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they? Which of you, by worrying, can add 1 cubit to his stature? So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that even Solomon, in all his glory, was not arrayed like one of these. Now if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more than clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore, do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow. For tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. Worry is essentially fear. I got past the fear in March of 2020. I then went straight into the phase of righteous indignation, also known as anger. Unlike fear, anger can be used. Anger is motivating. Anger is empowering. Anger is not violence. It can certainly lead in that direction, but that is not for us. Our anger must be devoted to motivating truth, justice, and liberty. We are demanding accountability. We want real data, not slanted statistics. If this pandemic were truly something to be feared, they would give us the unmessed with data. Let us reason for ourselves. Where have our ICU beds gone? Where are the new beds that were promised? What defines a case? What defines a death? What defines a hospitalization? Why are these definitions not as obvious as they should be? How can someone who has been vaccinated recently be included with those that are unvaccinated in the hospitalization statistics? Please, Mr. Kenney, give us the real data. What exactly are you trying to hide? It would be so easy to prove us wrong and shut us up if you had the data to prove your case. Since you have been ignoring us for 18 months now, our only conclusion is that we must be correct. And that none of these restrictions were ever justified. Only a monster could ever force the mask on the face of a 2-year-old child. Only a monster would condemn people to die on ventilators while completely ignoring any and all potential life-saving treatments available. Only a monster would fire a huge number of doctors, nurses, and surgeons in the middle of a health crisis. Only a demonic tyrant would turn the citizens against each other and incite hatred of a now visible minority group. Jason Kenney, the blood of innocent people is on your hands, and we are angry. Every person that works within the walls of any one of these buildings has blood on their hands. Your complicity in this atrocity will never be forgotten. The complicity of our healthcare workers will never be forgotten. The complicity of the police, the judges, and the godforsaken lawyers will never be forgotten. The silence of the churches, the mosques, and the synagogues will never be forgotten. You will all go down in history as the reason Western civilization and liberty itself crumbled. But you know, it doesn't have to end that way. If we can just get past the fear and get into the righteous indignation. We still have a chance. I said a few weeks ago, you already have nothing left to lose. You just haven't realized it yet. Your freedom is the cornerstone of life itself. Even God recognized that. Without liberty, is your life worth living? Is your mortgage worth paying? Is it worth risking your life for an empty and corrupt career? Or is it time to stand? If we do not stand, all of those things and much more will be taken away from you. Do not live in fear. Live in liberty. That's how we win. Do not make fearful, rushed decisions at work. Everybody's in a panic. Everybody, even people in my own family. It's touching everybody. We cannot be motivated by fear. These employers do not know if they have a leg to stand on. Do not refuse to do anything. Make them provide informed consent. Done right, it will take you months or years to reach a decision. Do not quit your job. You let them fire you if it comes to that. You need to be the perfect employee right now. Fear makes people make bad decisions. Do not be afraid. You were never alone. We have the numbers. We just need to make a stand. And this isn't from the Bible, but it is from history. Resistance to tyrants is obedience to God! Well, thanks for tolerating that. Appreciate it. We're going to welcome Karen Dixon up to the stage. Karen Dixon is the lovely wife of David Dixon, our favorite retired police officer. And Karen's got a few words for you. Let's tune in.
It's wonderful to see so many people out here today. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, every last one of you. Standing here on the ledge is part of history. You need to understand your significance. You don't need to be on this side of this microphone to know you are making a difference. I helped a desperate man during the first lockdown in 2020. He was outside IGA in our little town of Devon. He was pounding his head with his hands, saying, "I don't understand what's going on, but I know in my heart it's wrong." On both sides of this debate, I know many of you can relate to this. You owe it to yourself to be fully informed, especially now. Any decision you are making for your life puts you at extreme risk. I took my mum out to her favorite restaurant this week for the last time. A server we have come to know and love cried when I said we will never come back. The Vax Pass will be introduced there on Monday. She has listened to myself, David, my dear father-in-law, talk there for months. She knows what's coming. She has a family. She's desperate to keep her job, to be able to provide for them. I wrote to her on a napkin. It was a message of hope and gratitude for what her kindness and care has meant to our family, especially my mum, who lives in long-term care. We cried together. I left her with our phone number so that we'll never lose touch. Her final hug was worth 1,000 words. Everyone is crying out for help. Here's my advice. If you haven't taken the shot after 18 months of relentless coercion and incentivization, you have done your research. You have your reasons. Those reasons are no one's business but your own. You need to stay strong. Nothing is more valuable than your life. Connect with like-minded family and friends for the physical and emotional support you are going to need to get through the next phase of this insanity. Have trust and faith that enough good people invested in this fight for the right reasons will eventually turn the tide. If you're standing here today, if you're listening on the live, if you've got health challenges and concerns, remember the triangle that cannot be broken if you want the best chance of recovery. At the top of that triangle is you, the patient. You are your strongest advocate. Even Stan Anderson, sitting right now watching this live in the Royal Alexander, who's given speeches here with Parkinson's disease at -31, is his strongest advocate. Understand your health problems. Question every treatment. Be active, not passive in your care. I talked about the triangle. I said you, the patient, are at the top of that triangle. One base point of that triangle is your support system, your family and friends. Choose the strongest to be your advocates for appointments and hospital visits. The third base point is your team of healthcare professionals who should always be acting in your best interests. That triangle cannot be broken. You at the top, your supports, and healthcare professionals. The base point of the triangle. It is more important now than ever before. It is why my mum survived a catastrophic stroke 10 years ago. It is why she is thriving today in spite of COVID-19. There is a sign on her door. I've said this over and over again. I hand wrote the sign in Sharpie. It says, no PCR testing, no vaccinations, no changes to her health, her care, her medication, and no changes to her care plan without prior written informed consent. Because of advocates, because of Stan, and because of demanding that the healthcare professionals in the Royal Alex do their job. Stan Anderson, our music man here at the Ledge, is alive today. He, his family, and his friends fought for timely, quality, and appropriate care when he had bacterial pneumonia that was left untreated. Why? Ask yourself why. He would have been diagnosed COVID and left to die. Another statistic. Well, guess what, you at the Royal Alex? That didn't happen. And while I'm yelling at healthcare professionals who are not doing their job, there are a number in that hospital who are. So guess what? Decide, healthcare professionals, what side are you on? You need to stand up for yourselves and those you love, now more than ever. For those in the workplace or in education, Josh has already talked about it. Stay in your position for as long as possible. If you can take leave of absence for the next few months, look at that too. There is all the information you need on this on our Facebook page and on the Angry Albertan. Make sure you have a backup plan if your position becomes untenable. You need to understand there are no exceptions for these vaccines. Do not give your hard-earned cash to anyone, lawyer, group, organization, because you're desperate. Be calm. Research. Look at your options. You are going to have to stand up and make the hardest decisions for your life and for those you love. And you're going to need to make those sooner rather than later. Business, you're next. Small and large, you too are going to be tested. Do not participate in anything where you willfully discriminate against other people. If you choose as employers to take part in this, you will effectively be signing your own death warrant. Again, stand up to anything in the guise of a government incentivization, coercion scheme to grant access to your business or services based on the disclosure of private health information. It is none of your business. Everyone standing here and listening on this live, you all know the Titanic has hit the iceberg, and the casualties are going to be countless, not from COVID-19, but from the response to COVID-19. It will become an unmitigated and manufactured disaster. When the Titanic sank, the mandate was for children and women first. Actually, not in that order, my apologies. In this global disaster, those who must be protected, who have to be prioritized, are our children. I beg you, please don't drag others down beneath the waves in panic. Don't think just about saving yourself. Be a victor, not a victim. You need to reach out. You need to help and support others. That is the only way we are going to survive this. Parents, you're next. Pull your children from school if you can. And as I say that, I know many people can't. If you're sending your kids to school, make sure they're informed and they have the ability to call you if they need help or support. Don't hesitate to contact the school and speak out for your child. Understand that these vaccine mandates are coming for your kids too. You need to make sure you have a backup plan in place. I want to take the time, a few minutes, to thank a teacher from New Brunswick. Her name is Megan. She contacted me this morning. In a slew of messages, I found hers. She used an incident where two unvaccinated students who were being viciously bullied in her class as a teaching moment to educate 20 others in the class to respect others and be informed about their choices in life. There are still good teachers out there trying their best to make a difference. And a teacher here in Alberta who starts every single lesson by writing across the top of his board, question everything. Knowledge really is power. Prepare yourself, protect others, and protest with every last breath for what you believe in. When enough good people choose to stand, this ends. We need every courageous and compassionate voice of reason to speak out. The Vax Pass has to be your line in the sand. Don't cross it. Thank you for being here today.
Well, as I say most weeks, the best Karens are on this side. And speaking of supporting local businesses and my favorite Karens, one of the first businesses to announce that they would be closing their indoor dining because they do not want to be held responsible for discriminating against people is Karen at the Leduc Coffee Shop. Let's have a huge round of applause for Karen in the Leduc Coffee Shop. And any other business that is willing to make a stand for the rights of everybody, a stand for equality and a stand for liberty. Also like to give a quick shout out to our friends in the Sheriff's Department. Please give them a round of applause. And the Sheriff's Department is no different from any other workplace. About half of those guys are in favor of this tyranny, and the other half are going, what the heck is going on? You know, but they've stood here and defended us and kept us safe for 18 months now. I certainly appreciate it. And you know, if you'll notice how the sheriffs are basically back in the background, that's because they trust us. They trust this crowd. They trust me. They trust David. And that's why they're not in the midst of the crowd really making their presence known, because this is a peaceful protest and always has been. So we're going to hear from a small business owner now, a small business owner that has faced 3 shutdowns of her business, stared bankruptcy in the face, made a stand anyways. Please welcome Brandy to the stage.
I am the owner of a small hairdressing salon in Devon. My business has already been locked down for a total of 17 weeks since this crisis has started. I am only just keeping my head above water after Kenny's open for summer spree. Now with the new orders on Friday, more businesses faced with reduced capacity, even if they comply with the new 50% vax-only entry policy, will be forced into bankruptcy. Are you for real, Kenny? Half capacity, and for that privilege, we get to be the enforcers of your discrimination regulations? And you will track and trace not only my clients, but my every transaction, my every interaction with those clients? No. We have sacrificed so much for so long, and for what? Even those businesses who have complied with every one of your ever-changing demands are now starting to realize they are in a death grip. Basically, we've just rolled back to December 8th, 2020, but with the added twist of segregation of the vaccinated and unvaccinated. Just how is my business supposed to survive this? How can I turn away clients I've known for years based on their medical status? This is private health information, which I have no right to know, let alone ask for. How many of my valued clients, many of them my friends, will I offend with this invasion of privacy? I would never want to share my health status with a stranger, Why on earth would I expect others to share that with me? Businesses can apply for your exemption program to increase the capacity from 30 to 50%. Call it what it is, Kenny. This is a Vax Pass program with different branding. More word games, more coercion, more manipulation, more passing the buck to your subordinates to do your dirty work. Like you did to the school boards, the schools, the care home operators, the municipalities pushing masks. Another carrot dangled in front of desperate businesses already on the brink and keeping the blood off your own hands. To every Albertan, you thought compliance would buy you your freedom. Welcome to your passport to nowhere. Worse, your passport to hell. Your life, your existence is going to be on total lane control. Track, trace, your autonomy is about to be erased. Let's look at this exemption program. The government isn't forcing you to sign up for anything. You will be choosing to implement this. If you do, you, as a business owner, will be monitored. You'll eventually have an app to see who has come in with automatic auditing in the background. If you opt into this, you have digitally shot yourself in the head. Let me put this simply. This is like giving Revenue Canada access to your credit cards. Government can track your every business move, numbers, lag in traffic, etc. Are you okay with that? No. I know I ain't. The tracking system has already been built by big tech. Have you noticed the QR codes everywhere? On tables in restaurants? The government will monitor a steady stream of traffic through your business using these QR codes. Think about those RFID chips and scanners that go at the doors to stores. Tracking technology is already in place when you go in. Think about items which are tagged for theft. If you, as a business owner, sign up for this tracking, you better understand that it is not for your benefit. You might be asking, what's the end game? Say hello to Amazon. Every business, small, medium, and large, will eventually be targeted under this system. Even Costco, Home Depot, the big boys on the block. Not that I'm too sorry for them. They made record profits while small businesses were locked down for months. But the plan is to wipe us all off the economic map. Last year, big businesses like the sawmill were paid huge amounts of money to shut their doors, while I, as a small business owner, sat at home, literally crying on my kitchen floor, working out how I could continue to support myself. The plan is to streamline businesses to the point of complete collapse. Add to that, businesses can only function based on the general health of the working population. We are headed into what is predicted to be a bad flu season. Pile on the adverse impacts already being seen from these vaccines. Just how do businesses run with staff shortages caused by isolation and illness? Has anyone other than me and you thought this through? Not a single politician or health expert has. But I guess they have bigger, secure paychecks and pensions to buffer them all from this tidal wave. I'm done with the anxiety, the sleepless nights, the uncertainty. Yes, I knew this was coming for me, but it doesn't make the reality any less devastating. To say I'm pissed off would put it mildly. For the past 18 months, the government has held the fate of my small business in its manipulative hands. Now you're making businesses roll the dice on their livelihoods and lives like a roulette wheel, all in the name of safety. You know what? I'm not buying this anymore. We're all done playing these games. So let me be crystal clear. The only cost to come to my salon is what you'll pay for your haircut. Kenny, the cost of your exemption program is too high for me. I won't have it cost me my clients, my friendships, my values, or my business. This is my line in the sand. Thank you.
Yep. If you own a business and you're going to enforce these policies on your customers, you deserve what's coming to you. And isn't it amazing that employees are exempt from the vaccine passport? So you could be the biggest branch Covidian in the history of the world, and you may think you're safe going to the restaurant, but you could be being served by one of them dirty, filthy, deplorable, unvaccinated creatures. And again, like all these other rules, it's all by consent. If you're still wearing a mask, it's by consent. If you're following along with this vaccine passport stuff, it's by consent. You notice how clear Kenny has been? I quote Jason Kenney, "No one's holding you down and putting a needle in your arm." The only way they win is if we capitulate. And I'm not going to do it. And you know who else isn't going to do it? Deanna of the Elk Island Parents Against Mandatory Masks.
Hey everyone, this is my drum. I bring this drum to my son's hockey games. I'm that mom. I bring this, my son rolls his eyes at me and he pretends to be embarrassed of me, but I know he secretly loves it. Even when I cheer at practices. But I am that mom and I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna cheer for my kids and I'm gonna fight for my kids. And I'm telling you that right now. In Sherwood Park, we've been having rallies on Mondays. We're not having one this Monday. Go vote. Go vote. Next Monday, we'll be reevaluating and we'll be doing it again. That's what's happening in Sherwood Park. I first got notice last night at 6 p.m. that our county was not letting anyone into facilities unless, that's the ice rinks, that's the facilities, unless you are vaxxed or tested. My phone blew up and messages and concerned parents. I got phone calls, man. This is hockey tryout week. This is our children. Then I got word that the council members only got this new health order 15 minutes before their lovely meeting and they didn't know what was going on. Then I got another message saying, oh no, no problem, the players can go in free of tests or vax. Great. I was relieved. I just want him to play. They don't know what's going on, and neither do we. What I do know is that I am not able to go in and watch my son play unless I am tested or vaxxed. It does not make sense to me. I am healthy and there is no need for this. What does make sense is this: the government and AHS are stripping my children of any joy or future. They are taking away my rights as a parent to watch and cheer on my child. They are taking away from my children. Jesus says in Mark 9, but if someone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to lose faith, it'd be better for that man if a huge millstone was tied around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Now I believe that God is not up in heaven pacing back and forth with his hands on his head saying what's going on. He knows and he is in control. And I believe that, and I want to encourage you today to keep fighting. Keep fighting. When David went to fight Goliath, it says in the Bible, it says he ran swiftly toward Goliath. He ran toward Goliath. So I'm calling all the Davids, run with me, stand with me, run. I am disgusted with our government. I'm disgusted with AHS and all these unnecessary mandates. It does not make sense. We're fighting all sides. We will continue to fight this mask mandate. We will continue next Monday, not this Monday. Go vote. Just wanted to say that again. I will continue to fight for my kids and your kids. I will not be silent. And to those souls, to those that are lying to us and stripping our kids of everything, may God have mercy on your soul.
That's right. That brings up an important point. We need to feel sorry for the Branch Covidians. You know, gullible people, they get dragged into cults, and that's a shame. They deserve our pity, right? We're supposed to love those that hate us, turn the other cheek, and all that other kind of stuff. But that doesn't mean we're going to take it lying down. We still love them. All those people that turned our backs on us, we still love them. We'll be here when they come to their senses with open arms. And that's why we're here, though. We are here because we love them. And to spread a little bit more love, I'm going to welcome up one of the most caring people I've met at these protests. She's been with us a long time. Please welcome Dr. Lorna Levesque. Retired chiropractor, health professional, and honestly, a preordained saint.
I don't think so. You are very kind. This is going to be short. It is not going to be sweet. Fear. Let's look at that word as an acronym. Forget everything and run is one of them. Forget everything you know about being healthy and run and hide and isolate and chase down that inoculation. Or it can mean face everything and rise. Face everything. Face the fact that we have been fed lies for the past 18 months. PCR-based cases, hospitalizations, and deaths attributed to COVID are lies. Wearing a mask for health is a lie. Distancing and isolating for health is a lie. Face the fact that this was never about a virus. It is a diabolical grasp at total control. Face the fact that the inoculation is not about health. Let's look at what is in this inoculation. If you don't believe me, or if you don't like what you hear or what I have to say, do your own research. If a technological dinosaur like me can do research and learn, anyone can. You have no excuse. Every inoculation has software, biological software, in the form of messenger RNA or double-stranded DNA. Pfizer and Moderna inject 13.1 billion of these bundles in the form of mRNA into you. AstraZeneca and Johnson & Johnson inject 50 billion of these bundles in the form of DNA. You choose. They all give your body the fantastic ability to produce the spike protein. The spike protein is the most lethal part of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. The spike protein is the part that has been added via gain of function to the benign coronavirus to make it lethal. That is what your body is producing. Every inoculation has a vector, a carrier that ensures this software gets into every cell of the body, including the brain, the lungs, the heart, the intestines, the kidneys, the bone marrow, the ovaries, the testes, and if anything is missing, into every blood vessel, down to the very smallest capillary in your circulatory system. Every inoculation results in the production of antibodies. The good neutralizing antibodies are only for the spike protein, and they only have a limited duration. Binding antibodies are also produced. These binding antibodies are produced in great amounts. They are strong and long-lasting, and they happily encourage inflammation, resulting in the multiple organ failure that is being seen. Every inoculation accepted in Canada under emergency use also has polyethylene glycol, a known pathological substance that is toxic to humans. The spike protein, the binding antibodies, the polyethylene glycol. These are just 3 elements in this injection. What else is in there? If every injection is so safe and effective, why are the vials not made readily available for independent study? Why can we not know what is the recipe for each of these delicious cocktails? There have been independent researchers in North America, Europe, and Asia who have been able to procure vials of the substance. What they are finding does make the injection safe and effective if you redefine safe and effective. They've redefined everything else. They are safe if the content stays in the vial. They are effective if you wish to exterminate. Look it up for yourself. Do some digging. Remember, Google is useless. In short, there is nothing good in these injections. Nothing. Why are they being injected? Why are they being mandated? Why for children? Why for pregnant women? Have we already forgotten thalidomide and its horrors? Why are these companies putting these substances into these vials? If they are willing to put these substances in every vial, what else will they put in and then tell us it is safe and effective? Why are people willing to draw from a vial and inject stuff they cannot even identify? Why are people so willing to do as they are told? What else will they be willing to inject in our bodies? Because they are told and paid to do so. Why are people willing to roll up their sleeve and sit there and be injected with a concoction they know nothing about? Why are people willing to believe companies who have a long track record of killing and maiming people with other approved medicines, or they have no track record at all? Why are people walking like lemmings over the cliff from life to death, and they are doing so willingly and happily? It is all based on fear. Fear that says to them, forget everything and run. I welcome you to change direction. If you have been injected, if you have injected others, I invite you to say enough and never again. Face what has been done. Face the reality that has been created. I invite you to face everything and rise. This diabolical, well-planned strategy will fail. Evil will be defeated you. I welcome you to stand for truth. I welcome you to stand for humility, strength, and courage. I welcome you once again to face everything and rise.
Yeah, this truth, justice, and liberty thing, if humanity would stick by that continuously instead of just following it like a pendulum swinging, imagine the countless lives around the world that could have been spared. You know, Doug Brinkman, this gentleman filming here at the front, he walked up in a mask today, and I'm okay with that. He's a good friend of mine. And you know, and you know what? I've had a couple of experiences this week where, you know, sometimes you see that mask on their face and you just instantly assume that they're on the other side, that they're the enemy. But you know what? That's what Jason Kenney wants you to believe. You're being played. But when I see Doug has fought trying to educate people what's been happening in this world for over 20 years. And his main concern, and the thing that he tries to instill in everybody, is that innocent children are being killed almost every day because we have not been standing for truth, liberty, and justice around the world. Now is the time to start. Just last week, a bomb was dropped in Afghanistan that wiped out an innocent family of 7 people. And we're best friends with the people that dropped that bomb. What's wrong with us? And for that, I appreciate Doug being here today and reminding me that this is so much bigger than COVID. And speaking of things that are bigger than COVID, our next guest has been advocating for her people for her whole life. She's been advocating for her son. You know, she really puts into practice, love thy neighbor as you love yourself. She's one of the best mothers I've seen. She's just given it all up to fight for her son, and she's still out here fighting for all of us. Please welcome Lisa to the stage.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Lisa. My name is Lisa. My spiritual name is Pisimoyapwe. It means rainbow woman. It was given to me by my father, who was an Indigenous healer, well known across Turtle Island and other countries in the world. It was my father's biggest message that love is our greatest medicine. And I will tell you through all of this that this has been my biggest challenge every single day, to wake up. This last week, even I, who have spent my life trying to have faith, trying to love my neighbor, trying to love my family, trying to send that message out everywhere, I struggled. I woke up the other day and I felt such a heaviness on my heart. I just started crying. Nothing specific had happened, but the weight started the night before and I could feel I was off the day before. And I woke up that morning and I just wept. And I felt this pressure. I'm what they call a dreamer. So I sense everything that is happening in the collective, everything that happens around people around me, not to mention my own stuff. As Josh mentioned, of course, I have my son that I fought for, and I will tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. But when I woke up, I felt this heaviness I couldn't explain, and I cried all day. I didn't know why, but I kept continuing on my day. I had things to do. I had places to be. I had a meeting to be at that night. And it wasn't until that night I was actually at a meeting for our Indigenous legacy fund that our band has set up. And we were talking about some of the programs that we need to have. And that's when the alert system went off that Mr. Kenney lovely likes to hijack to tell us to go get vaccinated. To get scared. And I will tell you, I'm sitting there with elders, with my people in a room, and every single phone went off, and every single one of us jumped. People started panicking. We didn't know if there was a fire or something happening in the building till we all realized it was coming from our phone, and it was the alerts. So again, I swore, and I try not to, but I really have a potty mouth sometimes. And I was like, he did it again. And it reminded me, these are tactics that are used all the time to scare people. There is programming, propaganda going on all the time in ways that most people wouldn't even suspect. So when they have you put on a mask, it isn't for your health. It's to have instill fear. And it's working. I have seen so many families hating their neighbor, hating their brother, their sister, their children, their parents, their grandparents, their community. And yes, we're angry at our politicians. Many of us have started hating our politicians. And it comes from somewhere. But it is the propaganda that we have been going through for the last 18 months. But I will tell you, it didn't just start 18 months ago. I warned people a few years ago that there was something happening when I was watching media and commercials, and I was hearing languaging and phrases. One thing people don't know about me is I'm a very educated woman. I have been to university. I studied languages. I studied law. I studied politics. I studied healing. I studied health. I have spent my life learning about people. I have learned about history. We are repeating things over and over and over. And we are all here at a time when we get to witness what other people in other nations and other times have gone through. And we get to decide, who are we? Are we the person that will stand by while they take your neighbor from their home for not following rules that don't make sense? Are you going to go, oh, good, it's them, it's not me. At least it's not me. I am telling you, every single one of you is being tested, and this is the time to stand.
Right.
You get to decide what kind of human being you are.
Yep.
This isn't just about your paycheck and just your family. Every single one of us is family because we're human beings. It doesn't matter what your skin color is, your nationality, your religion, your age, any of it. What matters is what is in your heart and what you know to be right. Anything that forces someone else to do something so you feel better, so you can go to, football games, hockey games, just want to be able to, go enjoy my sports. So why don't you inject yourself with poison so I can go sit my butt in a seat? We are paying millions and millions of dollars for entertainment that distracts us from what it means to be human. We need to stop doing that. You have to look to history. These people behind me have not been standing here for the last 18 months, shouting from the rooftops for no reason. We are not crazy people. We are not conspiracy theorists. We are human beings who are concerned for our fellow man. That is why we are here. So I'm going to tell you some stories of my own family and what's been happening here. These are real stories. This is not something that someone in the news, whatever else. This is my family alone, and I know I'm not alone. There are many of you here and many of you online and many people around the world who are experiencing the same things, and they're questioning. They're questioning. So first of all, I have a stepbrother who is in a care home. He is mentally disabled, but he was healthy. He was forcefully injected in the care home without family consent because he's in a home where most people actually have their faculties. So nobody thought to make sure that someone had mental capacity to make a decision. My stepbrother has been suffering from a mysterious skin illness ever since. His legs have been swollen with marks and infections and constant repeated visits to the hospital and to clinics. My mother has had to take him many times. He is constantly having infected. He's wrapped up with bandages all the time that have to be changed. Sometimes they're not changed properly because he's in a care home where they are challenged with giving proper care to the people in there because of these mandates and restrictions and new policies that are put into place that are tying the hands of the people who are trying with their best intentions to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. I have said from the beginning that the policies that are being implemented are crippling our healthcare system. They are crippling delivery of care. And I know this because I have spent the last 22 years advocating for my son for one health condition or another. My son was born with RSV. He had challenges with breathing for the first several years of his life. While I was a working mother, I had a job, I had a business, and I was single. I spent every waking hour working or taking care of my child or in the hospital with him for repeated asthma attacks where he couldn't breathe. I didn't sleep for many years, but I fought all the time and I still managed. What I noticed is, because this is a trend that had to happen now for the next 20 years, we had an issue with management in the hospital system. It has been there for 22 years, as long as I've been accessing it. Right. It didn't just happen 18 months ago. Every single time I was in the hospital with my son or in an emergency room when he couldn't breathe, we would spend hours waiting in the waiting room, not even triaged sometimes, because there was no room. It was too busy. It was overcrowded. This is a funding problem and a management problem and nothing else. So when they start cutting nurses, they start firing them, letting them go. They start decreasing our bed sizes. They start telling nurses they can't come to work if they have a sniffle, a cough, or whatever. Then we now have a staffing shortage, even when we could have staff to operate. They have crippled the system from policy, not from overusage. Overusage has always been there, and these people in politics and our government have not done the right thing. Last year, Mr. Kenney said he was going to put over 1,000 beds. Where are they? They have decreased beds. They have decreased staffing. They have shut down whole wings. They have shut down surgeries. They have killed people from not letting them get treated, not letting them get assessed, and not letting them get tested for anything but something that very few people have actually died from. But everyone is having issues in their families now with massive, rapidly advanced cancers, and that brings me to my next story. I have an auntie who just passed away 2 days ago. She had both her jabs earlier this year. She was diagnosed very few months ago, finally, with cancer. It raged through her whole entire body very quickly. She was put into hospice and gone within days. You cannot tell me that shutting down our wings because we're afraid of a virus is worth that death. She is not the first auntie I lost. I lost one October of last year. I lost my uncle between November and December of last year. I lost another uncle in January, February this year. We lost a family friend shortly after. And I have now lost another auntie. My grandfather, who, thank God, he passed away 3 years ago and did not have to see this. His wife that was left behind here has been not well and not well taken care of. She's now in testing. She's had both her jabs, and her health has declined considerably and astronomically fast. We are now awaiting the results of whether or not she also has cancer. How many people have avoided hospitals, doctors, and whatever because, number one, they were afraid to go, and number two, because Mr. Kenny, Miss Hinshaw, and all of the people involved have thought to shut down things that are necessary for the rest of us. It is more important that everyone get the care they need, and we need the funding for that. So what I will talk about now is that my son has a very rare and debilitating chronic illness. He's had reactions to previous childhood vaccines. He has had many allergies to medications that would normally not hurt other people. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I've always been pro-choice. My personal story is my son could not tolerate them. My mom and I both are allergic to tetanus vaccines. It almost killed me a few years ago. I have taken them. My family has taken them. That is not the issue. We know that some people can't. Here's the problem. My son was given a medication by accident. No matter who's at fault, it has shut down, I guess not completely shut down, it has debilitated his central and autonomic nervous systems. I have spent the last 6 years caring for him because there is no program within our government that can assist a special case like that. He cannot take pharmaceutical drugs because everything that he is given tends to react for him and make his condition worse. It was already recommended that we never get more vaccines because it's not worth the risk to his central nervous system. It's already stretched too thin. I was already told not to get any more because of the severe reactions after having tetanus vaccines twice that put me in the hospital. I have severe allergies, and I mean a lot of allergies to many different things, metals, chemicals, natural things. I'm even allergic to trees. So I have so many allergies that it isn't worth the risk for me to have to try to take some of these things that are all loaded with chemicals. You heard what Lorna said, all of the different chemicals and drugs that are within any vaccine, never mind this one. It's not worth the risk. But we were at our new family doctor trying to get an exemption letter that was official because we've just always been told, and it was always accepted, that me and my doctor could make these choices for our family. Well, those choices have been taken away. Last week, before any announcement was made, my son and I were told by our doctor, she said, "I cannot help you. I cannot give any exemptions. We are already told by our college that we can no longer give an exemption to anyone for any reason." She said, "You need to either take this or you will not be able to participate in society. You will not be able to go to stores. You will not be able to go shopping. You will not be able to go to restaurants. You will not be able to travel." She already knew this. So you can't tell me this wasn't already in the works. This wasn't a sudden announcement. But she told me, "I will not and cannot give you an exemption. The only possibility that they have allowed is that if you have a known, existing, already documented on your medical file, allergic from reaction that results in anaphylactic shock to a specific ingredient called PEG, and then she gave a number that I completely have forgotten, and Lorna probably knows what it is. But it's PEG something. She said that is the only way that she can give an exemption. Anyone who has not had that particular thing must first get the shot, have anaphylactic shock, and they can trace it to the PEG, and then she can give me an exemption after the fact.
After telling you to try a different brand next
Yes. Yes. So this is not okay. And I asked her, I sat there and looked her in the eye and I said, so you're telling me that it is okay for you that my son and I, with our medical histories, should risk our life? I think I'll take the consequences, whatever that may be. I will fight for my son. I will fight for me. I will fight for the rest of you. This is not okay. Medicine, I have said before in my other speeches, is not a one-size-fits-all. Doctors who have had much of the same education as me and some know that there are ethics and guidelines that should be happening that are not happening in their medical field. They are being told by a college to basically throw away everything they've been taught and just follow a program. That is not medicine. It's malpractice. And so, again, I say we are at a point where every single one of us must look to our conscience. We must look deep inside and ask what kind of human being we are and what we stand for. Are you going to stand by as a doctor, as a nurse, as a firefighter, as a policeman, as a care aide, as a teacher, as any kind of worker in any kind of field? Are you going to stand by while they tell your fellow citizen that you must submit to something that could risk your life so that I can have my job, so that I can feed my family? Your family's not important enough. We are one human family, and we need to act like it. This is the time that we need to act like it. We are at a critical point with our government, with our election process, with the upcoming elections. You need to not be looking to, can I get one less evil guy to take over the other evil guy that I don't like? You need to stop falling for that narrative. You need to choose what is right. No matter what happens after the elections, I urge you not to throw away votes in just not voting because you don't think there's a point. None of us knows how much things are corrupted we can hope. But I will tell you from an energetic and healer perspective, everything we choose to do has energy attached to it. We speak with that energy in every action we take. And that includes, even if it's possible that our vote may not end up counting in the long term against all of the other evildoers out there, we still need to cast our energy towards the good. So choose people that stand for everyone's human rights and not for rich people, not for pharmacies, not for illegal policies, not for turning your neighbor into some disease-infested freak that you should be afraid of. That is not a healthy politician in their mind, their soul. Those are soulless people. And you are complicit if you vote for a soulless person just to get out another soulless person. Use your conscience. Make this time count, and then we will all deal with the ramifications after. Whatever else comes, all we have is today and what choices we make right now. And so I urge you to look inside. Don't let people like me and my son become victims by being forced into taking medical procedures that we already know will kill us. My son has been disabled, and I have fought and fought and fought for him. I spoke last spring about what will happen if these vaccine passports come in and we can no longer access care because he needs complementary alternative medicine. I finally found someone to help my son. I have been all summer getting him into a special treatment program that costs thousands of dollars. I have fundraised. I got him to someone and he started showing improvement and he's getting better. But now, if we allow these vaxports, we are not going to be allowed to access some of these services because they are going to demand that we show we're vaccinated to get it. But the vaccine is what will cause more problems to the central nervous system. It will undo everything we have done. So I am begging you, from human to human, to not support what's happening. I am not the only one who has family that cannot take these, that should not take these. And even if you have chosen to do it, that is your right. No one's saying you can't. No one's saying you can't be in an experiment if you choose to because you think you're serving humanity. That's your conscience. But your conscience shouldn't also then say, I'm going to force you to do it so I can feel better that I did that. If every single person is part of the experiment, where's the control group? We are the control group. We're going to stay the control group. Stand strong, stand together, and look yourself in the mirror every day and remember my face. Because when you choose to support this system the way that it's going, you are telling people like me and my son that we don't matter and that we might as well die. That is exactly what you are doing. And I'm begging you not to do that. Get in touch with your humanity. Start loving people. Talk to your friends. And stop hating your neighbors. They are trying to do the best things too, but everyone has been well programmed by the propaganda, so we have to have some kind of patience and love for these people. The veil is thinning, the truths are coming out, and it may take a little longer, but we're getting there, so we have to stand strong and bring more people. Thank you.
Just never ceases to amaze me how these rallies always end up with a theme. We don't plan it that way. It just happens. All these speeches get prepared, and it's just amazing. They all support each other. Now, everybody at home always asks, well, show the crowd, show the crowd. So I have a question for you folks in the crowd as I rotate this. If you know someone that has been hurt by these vaccinations, specifically these COVID vaccinations, could you raise your hand? And I mean someone that you know personally. That's a lot of hands in the crowd. Maybe hard for the folks to tell at home. But I'd say that's about 90% of this crowd knows somebody that was never the same to this date as of getting that jab. But you're not hearing about that on the news, are you? Sorry, guys at home, let me just turn this around again.
Where are the politicians? They are not here to listen.
Oh, they listen. The politicians watch this. You would be surprised who watches these streams. To date, I bet several hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent on lawyers who have been paid to watch these streams. Costco's entire legal team had to go through every one of our posts. And they're not the only ones. The city of Edmonton knows exactly who I am. And you know what? Everybody says, how can I help? How can I help? You know what? Don't ask, just do. You know, David and Karen, they just showed up and they just got to work. And you know, we've had so many people that just showed up and got to work. And one of those people is going to be our next speaker here. Our next speaker is Brenton. He's from Australia. His people went straight out of the frying pan into the fire, but we're not that far behind, are we? Brenton just stepped up and said, I want to help you moderate the Telegram chat. We have a channel on Telegram, and he has basically spearheaded an effort to up the game in that Telegram chat. Yes, we're there to support each other, but we are also there to share relevant information and practice our arguments. You know, we're not used to arguing in Canadian society. You know, but back hundreds of years ago, that's why you went to school. You went to school to learn how to argue. You were taught rhetoric and logic and all of these things. Well, Brenton is trying to bring that back. And I have a feeling his speech is going to tie right into today's theme. So please, put your hands together for Brenton.
Well, you're a lucky bunch. You can't go to Australia, so Australia comes to you. I love my country. I left sparkling beaches, tolerable weather, a laid-back outlook on life, a thriving economy, and an abundant lifestyle. And I flew all the way across the world to come here to be in the fight with the Albertans and Canadians. About 80 pounds ago, I professionally competed in Muay Thai kickboxing. I thought that was my path to quench my thirst and drive for the fight. It wasn't. I lost 11 out of 14 fights. It wasn't for me. But I love the intellectual battle. Oh, sorry, I lost my spot. Okay. So I'm here today to do my part with the country I love and live in. My philosophy on immigration is love the country you live in or live in the country you love. I want to move to the topic of programming. A lot of programming I see. The most common one I see over here is, oh, so you're from Australia? Aren't you afraid of snakes and spiders? And I'm like, no, I'm not. There hasn't been a death from a spider since 1979. We've only had 2 deaths from snake bites in the 2020s. If I came over here asking you, is it scary to walk home? Like, aren't you afraid of walking home from the pub drunk and in the winter and you slip on the ice and hit your head and you might die? That kills more people than spiders and snakes. But it wasn't on the TV, so it didn't make any sense. So that's a good example of programming that I've noticed. So we need to research. We need to listen to people with first-hand experience. Trust but verify. Critical thinking ensures you don't get caught up in another lie. And I'm not talking about just the mainstream media. I'm talking about the alternative media as well. If you want to control the hearts and minds of the population, control both sides of the messaging. Because fear is the currency of control. You should be questioning every single person, every source you find. When you get desperate, we fear for our lives, our family, our jobs, etc. It disables us. This is where the so-called trusted information sources on both sides swoop in for the kill. This is how they cause division. If the mainstream media sees that conspiracy theorists are mad anti-vaxxers and the alt media feeds the narrative that Trump is saving the children from the deep underground bases, the conspiracy theorists tell their family and friends about the hyperbolic claim, and boom, you have a target vector formed by the mainstream media. That's called manufactured division. This is so much more widespread than anyone is willing to admit. Josh has called it out many a times, and that's why I'm with Josh in this fight. We've been trained through social media to expect a response, reward, reaction from our comment, our photos, a post, for our little serotonin hit of acceptance. And we fell hard for headline sharing on social media. It's all a part of the trap. And I say again, trust but verify. Verify being the key word. Kenny, Chandra and Hinshaw are doing their best with this propaganda style messaging right now. Vaxxed versus unvaxxed. We knew it was coming. Now they're honing a target vector on us. Do you remember apartheid in South Africa? It was the worst thing in the world. At the time, that's what the left will tell you. But medical apartheid? No, it's not racist, so that's all right. New forms of discrimination are allowed now, even justified. You're absolutely allowed to discriminate against potential super spreaders that want to remain autonomous regarding informed consent with what goes into their body. This is a product of the fear factory and it works well. So the big question is, what do we do? What do we do when constant narratives of fear are successfully programming thousands of people? Less by the day, luckily. We have to understand that we receive instruction and programming better while being in a state of fear and demoralization. That's exactly where the government and the mainstream media want us. Stop being afraid. Ask yourself, are you going to be in a state of mind that serves your own mental prison that leads us into tyranny? So what is your part in this? We all have our own unique way to fight back. We must all encourage and support each other to do our part in the physical and online community we've built. You have a better way of doing something than I do, and I have a better way of doing something than you do. We need to discuss it. Respect what everyone feels being capable of doing. Encourage them out of their comfort zones. The government knows that this was the slip of their grip of control in our mind, on the minds of the people. That's why they brought in social distancing. That's why they put protective screens up at restaurants. That's why they intentionally segregate us with edicts. They don't want us talking and sharing information of our experiences, success and plans for the future. We have to break down all barriers to communication, and that requires courage. Here's the good news. You've taken a step towards that because you're here. That takes bravery. There's a lot of people out there that think like us but don't have the courage to speak out or stand their ground. It's easier to go along and get along. It's herd mentality. They don't want to be cut from their social groups and their social security bubbles, be viewed as a renegade unless they have someone to stand with them. It's time to be an example of this. It's time to step up. You aren't trying to convince the triple vax, triple mask Karen you're arguing with. You're trying to inspire people on the sidelines that are silently watching you display calm, confident conviction, not backing down and not flinching. Because you know what you're talking about. You're confident in what you're talking about and you're being calm doing it. It's time to invert the fear culture. It's time to make courage popular again. If you want change, if you want a majority, become an expert on something, like masks, for example. Practice debate with people you don't know. Train yourself to be impervious to ridicule. Let ridicule drive your resolve to learn more, to understand more, to interact more, and even pretend they're right sometimes. Do what is needed to gain rapport. Do not flinch if you get heckled, ridiculed, teased, and screamed at, because you are truly free when you don't care what people think about you. And that courage is respected. Face your fears. If you fear a food shortage, buy food. If you fear losing friends with your beliefs, find new friends. If you fear losing your job, ensure your passion can earn you money. Rid yourself of all facets of fear in your life It doesn't serve you. It serves those who govern you.
That's it.
If you were the majority, stop complaining and take action. Break free of what you fear with confrontation. Learn to love the fight. Some of you already know, are already there, and that's good. Keep going. Teach others. Share information on how to remain calm, confident, and knowledgeable, and how to rid yourself of fear. Tall men with a broad build. It's time for you to step up more than anyone. The simple intimidation and doubt you can bring with your presence should be enough to win any argument. My resting angry ginger face is my biggest weapon out here. So can you put a mask on? Oh, okay. We need to press on in the direction we're going. This was needed a long time ago. We know more about the law, science, and our rights. If COVID restrictions stop tomorrow, we keep our momentum going because now we want it all back. A quote by Sun Tzu. Know the enemy, know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. While they turn the screws on us, slowly taking away one little liberty at a time, they didn't realize that they were training their citizens to become more engaged, more informed, and a real community again. They have forced us into becoming liberty lions. Every one of your voices will make the difference. Words have changed history. So learn to love this fight. Thank you.
He sounds like a real Albertan, the way I remember him. Thank you, Brenton. Well, our next guest, every time new restrictions come out or big headlines, the next big COVID push comes along, there's one person that I want to talk to, and that's David Dixon. The new health orders came out, 18 pages of contradictory gibberish that's impossible for mere mortals like myself to understand. I even got hung up on it. Those that follow the Telegram chat know I got something wrong yesterday and had to immediately withdraw it because David was like, actually. And who here's read the latest health orders? It's part of being educated. You should be checking the stats, checking the health orders, know what they're trying to do to you. It's part of being educated. It's part of being able to argue properly with your friends and neighbors. And when I say argue, I don't mean in blah, blah, blah. I mean have a real discussion, if you can. It's hard to tell. Do you need 3 meters of social distancing or 2 now? Because now if you're a personal trainer, you're supposed to have 3 meters of social distancing. I mean, unless you don't. Right? Because if it's important to your physical training, well, then you don't have to physically distance at all. How does that work? Anyway, Dave, take it over, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Are we still doing this? Okay, I don't know how my voice is going to do today. I've been up since 3. I aspirated at 3 and my lungs hurt, but not because of COVID. I should be dead, but I'm not, despite COVID. Quickly on the orders, you've heard a lot of people talk today about everything. Quickly on the orders, you're a business and you haven't read the Health Information Act, go out and read it before you do anything. The government is now using you as its lackeys, as it has done for 18 months. If you are stupid enough to go along with it, like you have for the last 18 months, then I can't help you. You may be covered by PIPA, the Privacy Information Privacy Act, Personal Information Privacy Act. See, I told you it's been a long day. Or FOIP. But the data that relates to your health status is covered by the Health Information Act. Go speak to a health professional and ask them about the Health Information Act. It terrifies them because of how much is in it and how much they can't do. And just because Kenny says, maybe we should call him Simon. Simon says, get people's COVID data. So how are you going to get there? Most of you don't even know what a fraudulent driving license looks like. How in the hell are you going to know when somebody gives you a piece of paper that says, I've had a test? Or I've had a vaccine. In fact, I've had 3. I'm a bit greedy. Or I'm an old person. You don't. But the instant you ask for it, the instant they provide it, you become a custodian under the Health Information Act. If you look at it, you store it, you disclose it to any other party, including the government, you are breaking the law. So before you go along with this nonsense, educate yourself. The government, as they have done for 18 months, have relied on the ignorance of the public. And more disappointing than anything, they relied on the ignorance of my colleagues. Last week I stood up here, and the last couple of weeks we stood up here with healthcare professionals, with other professionals. Outside of Dr. Lorna, I pretty much stood up here for over a year now as a professional. If it wasn't for other people, I would have felt alone. I am what they call in Canada, or was what they call in Canada, a first responder. Well, guess what? In December 2019, I again became a first responder. In August of 2020, I stood here with a megaphone. We didn't have the fancy equipment then. Thank you, Josh. For anybody who doesn't know, Josh pays for this. Nobody else. There are no donation buckets here.
There have been a couple of nice people that have
But there are no donation buckets here. There are no websites with donate buttons. There are no secret meetings at the Hive looking for investors to actually squirrel away your money. There are all those people, for those who want to know, those who've just come back from the march, those con men, those con women, you just went for a march with them. Well, welcome to the party. If you want to stand for your freedom, it's not a monthly event. It has no admission fee. It is here every single week at 1 p.m. The people you just followed, the celebrities, are organized by people on watch lists. They want you over there because they don't want you to hear the truth. They want you to play along with the party. Well, time for a wake-up call, and that includes my colleagues. Let me explain something to you in the last 18 months. First, the government went after the elderly, the people you couldn't see, the people, sadly, most of you don't care about because they're somebody else's problem. Well, why would when I was a police officer, they were my problem. I went into the hospice. I went into the care homes. I made it my job to do that. My colleagues did not. I made it my job to see what the government was publishing. I listened in the last few weeks to professional after professional ask me where I got all my data from. I don't know, it's this little thing called Alberta.ca and Canada.ca. Today, we had planned to have a number of healthcare workers, first responders, stand here with me. They're not here because I asked them not to be here, because the government turned this into an illegal rally. That would have meant they would have been fired with cause for being here. That was a setup. They have work to do. And Kenny, Shandro, Werner, and Hinshaw, they are working. It took a long time, because first they went after the elderly. Then they went after the disabled and the people who were watching what was going on and said, you need to wear masks or you will be discriminated against. They went after the people here who stood for their freedom, my first responders. They say we need to be worried about the children. We need to be worried about the elderly. But they vaccinated the elderly without informed consent before they vaccinated the healthcare workers. They put vaccine clinics in schools and vaccinated children before they vaccinated the teachers. They left the healthcare workers, the witnesses, till second to last. So they would be distracted and they would only step up when their jobs were on the line. This is not because of any other reason than human psychology. People don't step forward in most cases till it impacts them. Luckily, there were people who've been here for over a year who stood up. I don't stand here for me. I stand here for everyone else. And just for the record, that is not Karen Dixon, the wife of a police officer. I am David Dixon, a retired police officer and the husband of a retired teacher. For all I know, for all I knew, and for all I did, Karen is the one who got me here. The people who are here every single week, not on party time when the celebrities turn up. They're here every single week. They're not here to buy t-shirts. They're not here to send money to little cafes in the south of the province so he can buy his own land. They're here for everybody's freedom. Again, there is no fee for freedom. Free is free. If somebody's asking you for money, if somebody's trying to sell you something, if somebody's trying to persuade you, they can create some magic get-out-of-jail-free card in some secret society. You are being had. My colleagues have sat and monitored them and done nothing. They've sat and not even monitored the government with information that is broadcast on YouTube and Facebook daily. Is published on government websites. But now suddenly they have come forward. A few weeks ago, that group connected with me, and it contains hundreds of first responders, doctors, nurses. The common law people got to some of them, and some of them ran away because I was mean. Because I said, "Where the hell have you been? Thanks for joining the party." Apparently that was mean. The majority of them stayed. They put their big girl pants on because they are first responders. They are healthcare workers. If you fall into that category and you get upset by what I say, then you know what? You ain't any use to anyone. Go back and hide under the table. It is time for the people who are not afraid to stand up. So who were the last people they came for? Actually, they haven't finished yet. The police. Why? Because they are the protectors in this country. They went for the witnesses last and the protectors very last. I still haven't seen the mandate for politicians. I still haven't seen the mandate for judges. Where are they? You want this to happen? You should have been first in the queue. But now, the time is up. I've been here for over a year. I've been alone. I'm not alone anymore. The witnesses are providing statements. There is a reason I'm not anti-vax. How many of you here have heard of TB? How many of you know how many people die of TB, a highly infectious respiratory disease, every year? Any idea? 1.5 million people a year. How many of you have got a TB shot? Do you not care? I've got one. My wife's got one. Do you not care? I want to see everybody who's had a COVID vaccine. I want to see your TB proof of vaccination now, before you ask for a single thing, because that's a lot more deadly to me, to all the people in care homes, to the people who can't wear masks. That is a lot more deadly. So why isn't that mandated? Because the programming didn't set in for TB. We don't have a crisis right now in the hospitals. We have a manufactured crisis. Werner Yu comes on TV and tells you about we're running out of hospital beds. We're at 98% capacity. Except what she doesn't tell you is that she's been eating the beds. I thought Dina was putting on a bit of weight. Somebody's doing something with them. She says we're expanding the capacity. We've gone from 190 beds that we had from the 1st of July till just over a week ago to 220 now. Do you know how we've got those extra beds? Not by opening any one of the 400 ICU beds we had, but by actually shutting down operating rooms and recovery rooms and turning them into our temporary ICUs. Why is that? So they then can say we have to cancel surgeries because we have no room. Well, there is room. There was always room. There were always beds. They manufactured a crisis. Has somebody lost their mum? Okay, back to my old job. We have a small child here wearing an orange hooped jumper and blue trousers and little curly hair. His mum's wearing a black shirt. Please, can you come forward? Sheriffs, could somebody come over and help, please? I'm not giving out a name over the. This is a small child. I give out a name and anybody says it's their child. There's a reason that they do give us some training. Sometimes we pay attention. Could somebody from the sheriff please come over? We have a missing child. Testing, testing. Can anybody see a sheriff? Okay. Thanks, guys. I know you don't normally sit in the middle of us because we're good, but we've got a child who's in distress here. I'm going to carry on talking. Karen's looking after him. If somebody could get that message out, though. There are enough children who are distressed right now. My colleagues, this is distressing. But let me ask you something. Over the last 18 months, how many suicides did you go to? How many heart attacks? How many locations as paramedics did you turn up at where the person is now deathly ill because they were terrified to go to the hospital, or 811, or the hospital sent them home to quarantine? When did we do that before? What happened to your training? What happened to your independent thought? What happened to your ability to respond to a crisis? Stop just responding to the latest bulletin and wake up. Go and find out, why do they have to say on the website that unvaccinated includes anybody within 2 weeks of a vaccine? If you're in a hospital right now and you're admitting COVID patients, you know what their vaccine status is. It's on their health record. Why are you not asking why this person is listed as unvaccinated when they're clearly not? Why are they listed as COVID when they've clearly been brought in for a stroke or a heart attack? Why are you not asking questions? Why are you putting people on ventilators who can still walk around? I know why Darren Markland does it, because he is mentally ill. He can't be anything but that to do what he's done and then boast about it on Twitter, do interviews on the TV, talking about ICUs. The only place you'll see a ventilator is in an ICU. We have over 800 ventilators in this province, and in August of last year, we bought a bunch more. But VNU says we've never had as many ICU beds as we have now with 297. That's funny because a FOIP request that was done by the JCCF, sometimes they do something good, showed that the average is over 400 ICU beds every single year for the last 5 years. What the hell has VNU been drinking? We're not out of beds. We're not in a crisis from COVID. We're in a crisis because of the response. We're in a crisis that has been manufactured. The evidence is clear. And I'm now going to speak to the Chief of Police in Edmonton. You support mandatory vaccinations. Get your head out your backside, sir. You are a disgrace to the uniform. People, thank you, sheriffs. And just for everybody's notice, the mum has been found. and the little one has been returned safely. Now can I ask my colleagues to look after the rest of the children in society as well? I once stood for 4 hours in front of a guy holding a bread knife to a child's throat, talking him down. I have given death messages to parents, to children of parents. I have dealt with some horrors in my life, but nothing like sitting back and watching my colleagues watch the world go by while it was somebody else's problem. Well, guess what? The mandates are here. They have come for you. But luckily for you, there is still someone standing. We waited for you. I waited for you. I will help you and everyone else, but you need to help me. And if you do not help me and do your job, then what use are you? We are out of time. These vaccine mandates are a distraction. You have heard about what these vaccines are doing. I have been speaking to doctors, nurses, and paramedics for months. I've been talking specifically to hundreds of them in the last few weeks, and they tell me one horror story after another. And when you get told, oh, but I had the vaccine and I'm fine, tell them to go get a blood test. Tell them to look for inflammatory markers and D-dimers and ask why in every single one of those patients they are positive. That is not normal. These are no longer indications of something else. They are the diagnosis. These vaccines are going to kill people. They are destroying immune systems. When your blood is damaged, it cannot respond. You cannot respond. Dina Hinshaw has already warned you. Not because she's a rocket scientist or she's got a crystal ball. Because we're due a bad flu season. They will blame the deaths of children on flu or on the unvaccinated. There are no unvaccinated. I am not unvaccinated. To be unvaccinated, you would have had to extract the vaccine from me. Un means to remove. I am not unmasked. I am not unvaccinated. You changed. I didn't. And Costco, explain to me how last year you stopped a disabled person from coming into your store and stopped it for 10 months. And the day you did it, there was a mask mandate at the city that had been out for months. And there were 10,000 active cases, and that was it. Now tell me why, when you said it was for the safety of the staff. Tell me why I walked into Costco yesterday with 19,201 cases in a state of emergency with a provincial mask order and an increased city bylaw. Basically, we were on DEFCON 4, and I walked in and they said, "Do you want a mask?" And I said, "No, thank you." And I said, "Okay." I spoke to staff member after staff member, and they were happy to talk to me. So Alberta Human Rights, you have delayed my complaint for long enough. You sent me a note yesterday, so I went to test what your response was. I guess there's a bit of a surprise coming for you. Anybody thinking of making a complaint to Alberta Human Rights, don't waste your time, because until they are held to task, they don't care about anyone's rights. This government doesn't care about your rights. They don't care about your health. But people do. The people here do. The government is in a free fall right now and panicking. We were in court yesterday, and a judge has told the Crown that an order is going to be put in for them to produce full disclosure. At the same time, there are witness statements being written for injunctions on criminal grounds, and there are informations. That's a criminal charge being drawn up with the witnesses that have seen what has really gone on. Kenny, could somebody go remove Kenny's passport, his real one, and Hinshaw, and Verna Yu, and Tyler Shandro? Because to all my colleagues, I now consider them a flight risk. We are at an inflection point. We are at a turning point in history. It is time for my colleagues to stand up, because no matter how much of the population stands up, this only ends when my colleagues end it. Because without them, this ends badly. That's what some other groups are trying to do, trying to convince everyone that there are no honest police officers, that there are no honest judges. Well, if that is really true, then society is over. And what are we doing standing here? We have to have a structure. We have to have faith, says the agnostic. I have faith, but it's running thin. It is time for my colleagues to look at the facts, look at the data, listen to what's going on, look at what's going on. People died last year. When somebody tells you there was no excess mortality last year, it's a lie. Our average mortality should be about 25,000 people a year. Last year it was nearly 29,000. A very small portion of that was accounted for with COVID, over 80s, multiple comorbidity, bad tests. The majority of them were heart attacks, cancer, suicides. If you're in healthcare, if you're in the first responder category and you didn't notice that, time to take the uniform off. The stats are there. You went to those calls. Wake up! Ow. I'm not done fighting, but the fight is coming to an end, and it's time to pick your side of history. These people here have picked. Now all my colleagues, it is time to do your job!
Well, one of my favorite things about this crowd is how responsible, peaceful, and loving it really is. And get this, they locked us out of the washrooms for a year on these grounds, and now they've taken the garbage cans away. Like, it just never ends. Like, do they just take them away for Saturday like they do the washrooms because we're here? But just because there is no garbage cans here, please pack up your stuff. Make sure your Timmy's cups go with you. I like to be responsible and leave this place nicer than we found it. I know this was 2 hours long. Thank you so much for being here to stand for truth, liberty, and justice. We are here every Saturday, 1 p.m. Thank you.